What if a single stone, silent, unassuming, and ancient, has quietly altered the course of human destiny for thousands of years? Not as a weapon, not as a crown, but as a mirror, reflecting who we truly are and who we are meant to become. Across civilizations, whispers emerge of a mysterious stone that appears at turning points in history, when empires rise, when prophets awaken, when ordinary humans step beyond their limits. It is said that those who encounter it are never the same. This is not a myth meant to entertain the imagination, nor is it a relic locked away in a museum. The stone exists at the crossroads of matter and consciousness, where the physical world brushes against the unseen. Some knew it as a gift from the gods, others feared it as forbidden knowledge made solid. Most were never meant to find it at all. In this video, we will journey through forgotten histories, hidden philosophies, and esoteric traditions to uncover what this stone truly represents, why it appears when humanity is on the edge of transformation, and more importantly, what it may still be activating within us today. The truth is closer than you think, and far more unsettling. Long before recorded history hardened into textbooks and timelines, ancient civilizations spoke of a stone that did not belong to the earth as we know it. In Sumerian tablets, there are references to a stone of heaven that granted divine authority to kings, not by bloodline, but by inner alignment. In Egypt, the Benben stone was believed to be the first object to emerge from the primordial waters of chaos, the point where creation itself began. It was not worshipped as an idol, but revered as a stabilizing force between the human and the eternal. In medieval Europe, the legend transformed into the philosopher's stone, misunderstood as a tool for turning lead into gold, when in truth it symbolized the transmutation of the human soul. Alchemists spoke in riddles not to confuse, but to protect the knowledge. To them, the stone was consciousness, crystallized awareness, condensed into form. To misuse it was to fracture the self. Philosophically, this stone appears wherever humanity grapples with the same question. Are we shaped by fate, or do we shape it ourselves? In Eastern traditions, sacred stones and meteoric fragments were used in temples as anchors for higher states of meditation, believed to store intention, memory, and cosmic order. These were not superstitions, but early attempts to interface with reality at a deeper level. Over time, this knowledge became dangerous. A stone that awakens inner authority threatens external control. Empires require obedience, not self-realization. And so, the stories were diluted, rebranded as myths, or buried beneath layers of symbolism. What remained were fragments enough to spark curiosity, but never enough to reveal the full truth. Yet the pattern persists. Whenever humanity stands at the edge of transformation, the stone returns, quietly, patiently, waiting to be recognized once more. To understand the mysterious stone, we must first abandon the idea that it is merely an object. The ancients never made this mistake. To them, the stone was a threshold, a point where inner awareness and external reality locked into resonance. Like a tuning fork struck in silence, it awakened something dormant in those who stood before it. Imagine consciousness as water, formless and flowing. The stone was the vessel that gave it shape, not by force, but by reflection. Those who encountered it did not receive visions because the stone gave them knowledge, but because it revealed what they were already carrying. This is why legends describe radically different outcomes. Some became sages, some became tyrants, others vanished from history altogether. In esoteric traditions, this stone is associated with the fixed point, the center that does not move, while everything else collapses and reforms around it. When a human aligns with this center, destiny ceases to be a script and becomes a dialogue. This is where myths of chosen ones originate. Not divine favoritism, but vibrational compatibility. The stone appears during moments of instability. The fall of Atlantis, the rise of dynasties, the birth of new spiritual eras. It does not create change, it amplifies it. Like fire, it warms those who understand it and consumes those who approach it with fear or ego. Here lies the unsettling truth. The stone does not judge, it reflects, and reflection is unbearable for most. That is why guardians were appointed, rituals required, and access restricted. The stone was never hidden to keep humanity ignorant, but to keep it intact. Because to stand before it unprepared is to confront yourself without illusion, and few are ready for that encounter. As the centuries passed, the stone fractured not physically, but symbolically. Its meaning splintered into myths, relics, and half-truths. Some claimed it was a meteorite fallen from the stars. Others believed it was a crystal grown by the earth itself under impossible pressure. Both may be true, and neither complete, because the stone was never defined by its origin, but by its effect. One of the greatest misconceptions is that the stone grants power. In reality, it strips power away specifically, borrowed power. Titles, identities, fears, and inherited beliefs dissolve in its presence. This is why many who sought it were disappointed. They wanted domination over the world, but the stone demanded mastery over the self. There is also the paradox. The stone appears external, yet functions internally. Ancient initiates wrote that the final stage of understanding was realizing the stone could no longer be found once it was fully understood. At that point, it had moved into the seeker. This gave rise to the belief that the stone disappears when its purpose is fulfilled, re-emerging only when humanity forgets again. Hidden orders encoded this knowledge in architecture, aligning sacred stones with celestial events to create moments of heightened awareness. Cathedrals, temples, and even certain modern monuments were built as echoes attempts to recreate the original resonance. But without inner preparation, these places became hollow shells. Perhaps the most unsettling insight is this: every era believes the stone is lost, and every era is wrong. It does not vanish. It waits, not for the worthy, but for the willing. Those ready to surrender certainty in exchange for clarity. Because the stone does not change destiny by altering the future, but by revealing that destiny was never fixed at all. If the stone no longer reveals itself as a physical object, how does one work with it today? The ancient answer is deceptively simple. You become still enough to let it emerge within. The stone responds not to effort, but to alignment. And alignment begins with attention. Start with a practice the ancients called the fixed point meditation. Sit in silence and place your awareness not on the breath, but on the space behind your thoughts, the quiet observer that notices them rise and fall. At first, the mind will resist. This resistance is the first guardian. Do not fight it. Watch it. Over time, a sense of inner density forms, as if something solid is taking shape at your center. This is not imagination. It is coherence. Next comes intentional reflection. The stone reveals truth through honesty. Choose one belief that defines you about success, fear, identity, or limitation, and hold it gently in awareness. Ask, not is this true, but where did this come from? When the origin dissolves, so does its power. This is the alchemical step most avoid, because it feels like losing ground. In reality, it is gaining gravity. A common pitfall is seeking dramatic experiences. The stone does not shout, it recalibrates. Subtle changes follow clearer decisions, diminished inner conflict, a strange sense that life is responding faster than before. Do not cling to these effects. Attachment fractures the resonance. Finally, act. The stone activates through lived truth. Speak when you would normally remain silent. Walk away when you would normally submit. Rest when the world demands motion. These small acts stabilize the inner center. This is how destiny begins to bend not through force, but through presence. The stone is not waiting somewhere in the world. It is waiting for you to stop running long enough to notice it. The mysterious stone has worn many names and faces across history, yet its purpose has never changed. It is the silent witness at the center of human transformation, the reminder that destiny is not something handed down from the heavens, but something awakened from within. Civilizations rose, believing it was lost. Religions formed around its shadow. Seekers crossed deserts, and centuries searching for it outside themselves, unaware it was patiently forming inside all along. What the ancients guarded was not an object, but a realization. When you discover your inner fixed point, the world no longer decides who you are. Fear loosens its grip. Choices become clearer. Life begins to feel less like a struggle against fate and more like a conversation with it. Perhaps the stone appears today not as myth or relic, but as a moment of stillness you almost ignore, a truth you hesitate to admit, a turning point disguised as an ordinary choice. The question is not whether the stone still exists, but whether you are willing to recognize it when it does. If this exploration stirred something within you, stay with that feeling, reflect on it. And if you wish to walk deeper into these hidden teachings, leave your mark here and continue the journey. Because the stone has always changed human destiny, one awakened mind at a time.